I aim to please. One day I will break you on the show.
Well, and that's how we're going to start this episode for 0 Point Reviews. This time we're talking Kolchak's second television feature, The Night Strangler. All right, Kevin, clearly we were not born enough for this when it first aired. How did you first catch this? Did you just watch this recently like I did?
Yeah, today was my first time, I think. I don't remember seeing any of this picture at all. Not like the first
me
one
neither.
or even the TV series I remembered a bit from, but not this. And I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, I got a big fat zilch on this one myself. Like I literally remembered nothing. If I've seen this, I was not paying attention or I was asleep. So I'm just going to go ahead and call it and say, I never saw this one.
Yeah, pretty much. But this is another one of those things where it's like we're on a good streak of movies that are enjoyable to watch.
Fuck yeah.
This to me is one of those times where, we talk about like House and House 2, where you see a horror movie that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then the sequel that comes out is just as good, if not better.
And
I think this kind of, for it being a horror film that's made for TV in the 1970s, it's really goddamn smart and it's really good.
Yeah, I don't see how you couldn't have potentially put this in movie theaters and had it not be somewhat successful. The fact that it was for TV and ABC nonetheless, like the ratings were good on the first one, so they obviously wanted to go do a second one. And this one was a big success. Even so much a success, they decided, hey, we're not going to do a third movie. We're going to do a TV show based off of how strong these two performed. And this one, I gotta say, watching this was killer. Like, this was a fun movie. If this was like I can't believe that they never put this shit in theaters. I really can't. It totally would have worked. I mean, it might have been more of a cult hit, but the fact it was on TV for free, that is probably what gave it the chance for an audience to really click and connect to it. And I had a fun time with this one, I gotta say.
I think if this would have come out a few years later, still late 70s, say maybe 78, 79.
Battlestar years.
Yes. Well, more importantly, Amity years. That was the time when the Warrens were starting to be on TV all the time. And
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah, starting there, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Amityville pretty much put them on the map. And
okay,
they spun such bullshit that it became pretty much gospel and legend.
Oh, is that what became the pop culture thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I do not know. I am not aware. I'm not really up on that stuff. So
I have the documentary.
And that's all you need.
Yeah, man, it came in a $4. It was it was a 5-disc set of the Amity movies.
Okay.
And no, the fourth one I have. So it's 4 discs, but the last one was the History Channel documentary. One side was, is it true? And the other side, is it hoax? And
okay,
the hoax side was a lot more interesting.
Sounds like a fun set, actually.
Yeah. So if you've seen the Conjuring movies and you love those, don't watch anything I just talked about because it
might change your mind or piss you off.
Yeah. The Warrens are much better people on the screen.
All right, good to know.
And they were the real Night Stalkers. But so anyway, if this would have come out then, because that's when America started being more interested in Satanism, occult type stuff, ghosts, that all started to really catch fire and then went through all the way into the late 80s.
Yeah.
So I think if this would have been before or during all that, that would have been great. But this had the misfortune of coming out even before Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, God.
So yeah. I think horror was still in a transitional phase at that point.
I think so. This still was like early mid 70s when there's definitely a different vibe going on. And it wasn't until after say like Halloween, so like 78, 79, maybe even 80, as it moved into more of what most of us grew up with like typical horror movies of that era. Like, definitely had some different vibes and atmosphere going on. It relied more on that than like straight up shock value. Like, if you're watching this for jump scares, this was before jump scares were really a thing in the 80s.
Yeah, the scare in this is more suspense
And cerebral. Yeah.
and they do storytelling in this much better than they did in the
Yes.
first movie. Like it's like legend telling, and
Yes.
it really works, and it really gets you engaged into what the Night Strangler is, or it makes you curious as to what he is. Is he a vampire? Because
Right.
they talk about, they make reference to the first movie, which was awesome.
Quite a bit, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, like this is a true sequel. Like it takes place after the first movie. Everything is canon.
Right.
So, I mean, they even have a weird excuse on how he and Tony randomly happen upon each other again.
Oh, you're in Seattle. Oh, me too.
Yeah, like Tony goes to a bar just to say fuck it, drink his Malox and beer together, or whatever, and he hears Kolchak from across the room and tries to run away.
He's like, is that some carny around the corner, or whatever, however he phrased that? And then the bartender's like, yep. And it's like, ah, shit, it's him.
Yeah, and he already knew what was going to happen. He knew his fate was going in that direction. So Tony was actually even more enjoyable in this one.
Oh my God, I think this is where they really started finding their groove as a duo together. And now this makes way more sense for the television show for me, like how they possibly, connected through everything. Like if you're looking for a through line, the way this ended, and we'll get into the actual ending soon, but like Kolchak, Vincenzo, and unfortunately the third wheel doesn't show up in the TV show, but the two of them go off in the car at the end of the flick, and they're off to a new city. They obviously end up in Chicago then. And even though they were intending to go to New York, they ended up in Chicago.
Well, that happens. You get part of the way there, and then you just, need to work.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's right, New York or Chicago.
It was a Tu Wong Fu or Elvira situation where the car's got to get fixed, but they got to do something to make money to get the car fixed.
Yeah, getting Big Trouble in Little China vibes, because when Lois popped out of the back seat, I'm like, oh my God, that's a horror movie right there.
Kind of, right? Like, oh, God damn.
And Kolchak's just like, oh, hey, yep, she's been back there. Oh, that was so funny. I'm like, I was not expecting that, because you hadn't seen her for like a good 20 minutes of the movie at the very end.
Yeah, right. And I was trying to explain to my wife, because she's not watched any of this with me. It's not her thing at all.
Okay.
Because I was trying to explain to her the relationship between Kolchak and Vincenzo. And the best way I could put it to her is Kolchak is to Tony what House is to Dr. Wilson on the TV series House. Like,
okay.
He was like this curse upon Wilson that just randomly has showed up to make trouble whenever he needed something.
See, I was almost looking at it as a twist on put it in comic book terms, like J. Jonah Jameson and, an actual reporter like MJ or whoever is usually the reporter, or even, I say Tobey Maguire, I'm thinking like Spider-Man, but like there's always the friction there, but it's kind of a different sort of friction. I'd almost say maybe like Perry White / Superman / Lois and Clark, as Clark Kent, and how they go butt heads with him all the time. He's not always like, yes, do whatever you want. He's more a little firm-handed, like, you got to have your facts on this story. I ain't putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, Great Caesar's Ghost Perry White. That's pretty goddamn close. Not so much Fishburne Perry White,
right?
He was pretty collected and smooth,
yeah,
and funny as shit with his snark. But the J. Jonah Jameson, Great Caesar's Ghost Perry White from the 50s, that was pretty much him in a nutshell. Like, he wants to care,
and he knows the truth.
Yeah, he does care, but he also knows, like, rationally, this shit is not going to fly. No paper is going to want to print this bullshit because it's so fantastic.
Right. And he barely wants to put it out there, too. He's like, I know this is the goddamn truth, but I know if we put it out there, you're going to piss a lot of people off. You're going to scare everybody else. And you're going to create like a mass panic. Like the general public does not need to know this. They just don't, because then it renders most lives meaningless, to some people, or this new religious revelation, of, oh my God, my world is now upside down. I don't know what to believe anymore. Well, praise Jesus.
Well, yeah, right. Well, there were implications about this with religion and stuff, because
Oh yeah.
it gets into not so much Christianity or whatnot, but it talks about life eternal, and
Yes.
what is that cost worth to you. And that was really smart, the way that they kind of make you think about that. Like, when
Oh
is
yeah.
when is the pursuit to do a good thing, when is that too much, when does it become bad? And that's really what the Strangler was like. That's what he embodied.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So for people watching at home, I guess we could spoil it at this point. It's a 40-year-old movie.
Spoiler alert.
50-year-old movie, excuse me. uh it's not a vampire this time. It's a surgeon, a doctor from the Civil War, who started to figure out the fountain of youth, for lack of a better term, or elixir of
Yep.
youth.
Elixir, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very time sensitive. It's ingredient sensitive, and one of the ingredients is blood from 6 different ladies in an 18-day period. And
Within
then,
7 seconds of them dying.
yes, so it's kind of like adrenochrome.
Yeah.
If anyone knows what that is. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, it's very time sensitive, it's very ingredient sensitive, and he's been trying to perfect this so you don't have to kill anybody for, what was it,
He
like
wants to make it permanent, yeah.
yeah, since the end of the Civil War. He's been trying to do it to help people. He wants to alleviate all sicknesses and shit. And you really kind of have to respect that,
Oh yeah.
minus the killing people part. But then he'll go away. The serum works for 21 years, and he's got to come back and do the whole thing over again.
Right.
And I was like, oh, son of a bitch, I've seen this before. This guy's Eugene Toombs. and Pennywise too. I mean, so it's like Pennywise and Eugene Toombs are all the Night Strangler. So I'm like, I will take that, because I like both characters. I like both concepts.
Well, it's almost like something ripped right out of a rogues gallery for any sort of like comic book villain.
Yes. Yes. Oh, speaking of comic book villain, he's not a librarian, was the research assistant.
Oh God, what was his name? Henry?
Yes. Did his voice sound familiar to you? Speaking of
It did, but I couldn't place it, and I did not look it up. When we do these movies, I don't do research. I just watch the movie and we're just talking about the movie.
Well, the creepy research guy was played by the gentleman that played Underdog. Oh
my God, really?
Wally Cox was his name, and it was the voice of Underdog.
Oh my God.
I
didn't even peg that.
That's where I knew that voice from.
Oh my God. Now that I think about it, I can hear it.
Yeah. There was a lot of little cameos like that really made me laugh. The other big one was, of course, is when he starts to figure out that things might involve alchemy, witchcraft, the occult, anything like that. He asks the third dancer if she knows anything about that. She says, no, but my professor at college does.
Yeah.
And he goes to meet this professor, and as they're walking in, she makes the point to explain she's also an expert in witches. And it's fucking Margaret Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. And I spun it around and showed my wife, and she's like, is that I said, yeah, it is.
Boy, did she have a scowl on her face the second you saw her.
Oh yeah, like truly, that she finally looked old enough to be the witch. She wasn't nearly that old when she played Elmira Gulch. But I loved her line, if this magic was real, I'd be an 80-year-old sex pot. And I'm like, oh God, let's wash those ears out.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I did not just hear that. That's the kind of snark that I like in most shows these days.
Yeah, like that killed me a little bit. Yeah. It's gonna kill me now.
Oh, our little hack fit.
No, I'm okay. I'm good.
Just drink your beer. Yep.
Thank you.
Sip for the working man.
But the movie focuses with the killer in the Seattle underground, like old Seattle. And I didn't really understand, or not understand, I didn't know that there was an old Seattle that way, that has or that Seattle was built upon the city that used to be there.
The ruins of a former city.
Yeah, like for whatever reason, there was a fire, and instead of like tearing things down, they just built everything on top of these buildings. And it's really eerie looking. They did a good job with the special effects, or
yes, they did.
The sets. They were really, really good. Like there are worse special effects than Clash of the Titans, really. But it reminds me of Portland. Portland has something similar, but that was more for basically the immigrants to go back and forth from their camps to work and stuff. So this was like, it was different. It was almost haunted in a way. And the Night Strangler, of course, he's from the Civil War. He's still living down there, and his is the only house that's got lights on. It's like candlelit everywhere. Everything else is dark. It's ruins of a city. It's a true ghost town, and there's a living ghost actually living there.
Right.
And he's got his family, corpses, all sitting around the table and talking to them.
Well, isn't that out of something like 900 horror movies that came after it?
Yes, but you know where that idea probably came from?
Psycho.
Ega.
Oh, there we go.
Long before Psycho, it was Ega.
I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah. So I wanted to go watch that episode of MST afterwards. But yeah, like he's sitting there talking to his family and stuff.
He's nuts.
Yeah, truly. And then he's like putting his arm around Carl to give his little bad guy exposition.
That was awesome, dude.
Yeah, like the delivery was really, really good. Like
Richard Anderson was great.
He was. Like, I've heard nothing but good things about his performance in this. Like when we did Social last week.
Yeah.
Everyone was talking about how great he was.
Like he was killer, literally.
Yeah, right. Like he was scary. They didn't get to show him as his body was like falling apart with the cheek being missing.
Oh, yeah.
But it does show him what happens when he doesn't take the elixir on time. Like he ages like the fucking British guy on Indiana Jones 3 when he drinks from the wrong chalice.
You chose
poorly. Fucking, he's gonna take the drink, so he's gonna get another 21 years to keep trying to perfect it. And instead, Carl fucking takes a big trinket and throws it at the vial that's got the elixir in it that has to be drank in X amount of seconds, and breaks it everywhere.
Boy, he had a fastball pitch that was pinpoint accurate.
Yeah, and all I could think of was, thanks, Kolchak. How many people have died from cancer since you did that could have fucking been avoided? So they don't really mention that a whole lot. Yeah, Kolchak's pretty much the reason why there's still cancer in this world, and AIDS and all those other diseases that you can't get rid of.
Well, to get nitpicky, the other thing is like, how much of that elixir do you need to last 21 years? Like he boiled a ton, but you look like he was only just going for just a little bit. Did he not have enough left in like the bottom of the flask just to take, maybe it would only last 7 years, but it would give you a chance to actually like come up with a new plan and continue to work on it. Like it looked like he was making enough to experiment on, not just consume. So that's my one little nitpick at the very end is like, he still had some at the bottom. He could have just gone for that, chugged it, by Kolchak, end of movie.
We've come up with these amazing things in the last 100 years where it keeps your food cold.
What?
You can even freeze liquids now.
Wait, does that involve running water? Oh my God, it's running water.
Do you think he had portable toilets down there, or like running water down in the...
I don't know, but they had closets to put dead people in, so maybe.
That's true. Like, questions do arise.
I mean.
That's right. Wardrobes. And the skeletons were all scary looking too. Like, I believe they probably were real scary skeletons, because you could still legally use human remains back then.
Well, like you were saying, like if those were practical effects, like damn, like you just mentioned earlier, like they were on point. I think they definitely increased the budget when it came to this movie.
Yeah,
compared to the first one. So
even the score was better in this movie.
yes, I thought the music was outstanding through this one.
There was a little bit of Waka Jawaka. Again, you got to remember this is 1973.
And belly dancing.
Yeah. Okay.
And belly dancing.
So let's get to this. The premise somewhat like focuses on these three strippers, belly dancers. Excuse me. The first one gets killed at the very beginning. That's what sets up the movie
very quickly.
And then Carl goes to talk to the second girl of this trio and goes to her apartment. And he knocks on the door, and this very tall and stern looking woman opens the door, dressed in a cardigan, was it?
I don't remember.
And he asked if she was what was it, beautiful charming or something like that, or beauty charming, whatever the stripper name was.
Beauty.
Charisma beauty.
Charisma.
So I mean, that was kind of the joke there, and there's a little bit of body shaming to that. But he asks if that's who she was, and then he's
like Miss Beauty.
Yeah, like but you hear the lady in the background, and she's lying on this couch
provocatively.
Yeah, with the boobies hanging out and stuff, eating a box of chocolates like a
princess.
Yeah, like a suitor had just brought her a box of chocolates, and she's just sitting there eating them. And she had to be, oh gosh, what would you say? Probably the dumbest mammal alive.
This is probably where they created the dumb blonde jokes, is what I thought.
Yes, and the actress that played her did so good. Like, you could tell she was acting.
Oh yeah, this was not her natural personality. She was not charisma. She was just playing charisma.
Yeah, like Kolchak tells him, knock him dead. Why? I like them too much.
Yeah.
He talks about how he gets absolutely no information from her. And then when you see her the second time, when her husband Wilma, and which Wilma was in Freddy's Dead. She was the old lady at the beginning on the airplane.
Oh.
When the kid goes, sorry, I don't like flying. She's like, don't be such a pussy. That's Wilma.
Oh my God.
So yeah, she was still working.
Oh yeah.
But this is where you start to get the background on old Seattle, because they see a tour group walking by, and he starts saying, or Carl goes, what's this? And the third stripper goes, oh, that's the underground tours. And he asks what that is. And stripper number 2, well, and she sounded like Audrey too. That's probably the best way you could possibly put this lady.
Yeah, that's true.
But less intelligent than Audrey 2. Or not Audrey 2, Audrey 1. She didn't sound like Levi Stubbs. Anyway, she starts telling them, well, there was a fire, and for some unknown reason that I'm not sure of, they built everything on top of the buildings. And she just like trails off like there's butterflies up there that she's looking at.
Maybe she was on the hookah, or the green stuff. I don't know.
Well,
or she was drinking, or all of the above.
It's funny you should say that, because each of these ladies, they made me get to thinking, and I came up with an image for this. I did. I got a new image for this week. And it might get cut off, so we'll put it on the website or the Facebook group. Okay.
Oh my God.
So this little stripper went to market.
Oh my God.
This little stripper got stoned. And this little stripper went on her motorboat all the way home.
And that's going to be our rating for this episode.
Yeah, so as far as provocative, you probably can't see the boobies there, but underneath my shoulder, she's got her tatas just kind of hanging out there with chocolates going into her mouth.
Oh my God, this movie was nuts.
Yeah, and so
something you'd only get out of the 70s or today.
This lady here, she's the one who lives because she helps Carl, but then she gets pretty much arrested for associating with them or helping them.
Yeah.
And then gets kicked out of college when she's like so many credits away, like half a semester.
She could just transfer, for crying out loud.
Kind of like, you wouldn't think it'd be that hard to transfer to Chicago, but that's whatever.
Well, maybe she ended up going to New York, but they never clarify that in the show. And that's okay.
No, I don't think they needed to, per se.
No, we don't need that much consistency. You just needed the Carl and Tony.
Yeah, because that's really the two of them are really what make the movies themselves. I want to say, as you get into the series, and we'll talk about that more on the podcast, there's a broader cast, and some of them not make it, but some of them like really do well as far as bringing character to the story, and others don't. Like Miss Emily, and we'll get to her on Wednesday. Miss Emily is pretty great. I wish she would have been in the movies.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I mean, there was only one character in this, and I don't think I got her name, but she was like the other female reporter in the newsroom who was just constantly on Kolchak for whatever fucking reason. And I loved when he snapped and he just started tearing up her paper at her typewriter because she was annoying as fuck.
What did
she was like the uptight? She was like the Updike from the show. And I'm like, man, that bitch just fucking, what are you doing?
Kitten got claws.
And jealousy, I don't know. She didn't seem like she was all that great of a reporter, so I was like a little confused. Is she an assistant? She's a reporter. What is she doing, and why does she have a hang up on Kolchak? They didn't establish any sort of jealousy in the office otherwise.
Well, because Kolchak himself is a sex pot.
Yeah, that's true.
God, the Wicked Witch said sex pot.
We're not going to get that hashtag in. We don't need to do that again.
Ah.
Although that was sex bot.
Sex bot. Sex pot works just fine. I mean,
it's true. Okay,
we'll allow the state you live in.
We'll allow it. Yep.
I'm gonna go grow some of that sex pot. But anyways, this Night Strangler. Did we miss anything? Oh, some other great cameos. The homeless guy that was living down there that kind of attacked Kolchak.
He seemed familiar, but I couldn't place him and I didn't look him up.
That is Al Lewis, Grandpa Munster.
Oh, son of a bitch.
And what was really cool looking?
It was annoying me too. I should have looked him up.
He looks just like Robert Englund.
Yeah.
If Robert Englund had a beard and a little bit rounder of a head, he would have looked just like Robert Englund when he was young. And it was really neat to see. Like, you had to see his silhouette to really know it was him. Like, once you get that nose and the eyebrows, it's like, oh, okay, that's him. Who else did we get? Really, nobody else. Okay, then. Never mind. Yeah, nobody else. Nobody else important anyway that we know about.
Yeah, I thought I would recognize like who the police captain is, because they seem to continually get like somewhat recognizable people, and the actor probably was, but I didn't peg who Captain Schubert was.
Oh God, who was that? I think I wrote that down. No, I did not. That wasn't John Carradine. No.
That was Crossbinder.
Yeah.
That was pretty good though too. Yeah, I thought he did very good as a Crossbinder.
Yeah, he did. I can't find who the captain was, but yeah, he's very familiar. Was famous. It's gone.
Well, what I liked about Crossbinder the most was like he could take whatever Kolchak was thrown at him and still keep a straight face and maintain control over the situation and just kind of like stare him down without saying much. And Kolchak would be like, ooh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, it was one of
I
those
made my
times where
point. I'm good.
he tries to get snarky and then has to back off because he realizes it's not going to get him anywhere
Yeah, because
anywhere
that
that he
seems to be
wants.
his MO. Is he likes to he pushes it to as far as he can. He even admitted, why won't he just do what I tell him to, what I want him to do?
And Tony says, "Did you just hear what came out of your mouth?"
He's like, yeah, because I said it. That was so good. There was such good dialogue in this. Like, this is definitely from a time when dialogue was king.
Yeah, these are movies that I would probably watch again and again. Like I really like these now that I've actually gotten to sit and watch them from start to finish.
I'm very happy to have these in my collection. This is going to be a new watch for me every time.
Yeah, I think something like this, I'm gonna end up making my family watch with me for Halloween, if nothing else.
Well, they're not very gory.
No.
Yes, they have a little more on the mature themes, but unless you're an adult, you really don't understand them then. Anyway.
That's true. That's true. Like they might find certain scenes funny,
or be like, what
but
is
not really get the context to it. So
right.
like if you're watching Young Frankenstein, when you hear Madeline Kahn singing Mystery of Life, you may not know why, but you know it's funny because it sounds goofy and funny.
Right.
Anyway, or if somebody else is laughing and they have that infectious laugh, then you just can't help it.
That's true.
Which there was a lot of gags in this movie, like more so than the last one.
Right.
And they all worked. None of it was campy or cheese. Like it.
Yeah, I felt that was a good thing to be missing from the first one.
Yeah, like there was everything fit. Like the jokes weren't mistimed, they weren't inappropriate per se, at least not for the time anyway. They all worked. And it was like watching an MCU monster movie where it's like you do get that a lot of humor to it because that's what makes the audience stick.
Yeah, like Werewolf by Night.
Yes, exactly.
Get that director to get him to do some Kolchak. That'd be all right.
You heard what he just got, didn't you?
I did, but I don't remember what it is right now.
Them.
That's right. I did hear that on like Thursday or Friday on one of my other news places I check out for news, and that is very exciting. Hopefully it works out for him, but that's kind of a big property. That's coming up on what, its 70th anniversary?
Yeah. This year or last year, I think, one of the two.
This year.
Is it this year?
I think it's this year.
But yeah, I mean, Them is my favorite nuclear era story.
Right.
Giant monster movie.
That like, and Gojira, but yeah.
Yes. There have been so many other good movies that mimicked it. Except for Mimic, which was not very good at all. I think its best predecessor or descendant was Eight-Legged Freaks. So
that is way campy by comparison.
It was meant to be, though. I mean, shit, one of the spiders jumps up on top of a car, throws its
David
front legs and starts.
Arquette. I mean, if you expect serious from David Arquette, you ain't getting it.
No, and he's actually great in that movie too.
I like that movie. I don't love it, but yeah.
I do.
I'd rather go Arachnophobia if we're talking more newer era. Like,
I don't need to see that movie like maybe once every 10 years. I saw it the day it came out.
Yeah.
I was 11, 12. Saw it opening day. Went camping with my mom, my aunt, and my uncle that afternoon. And that evening, my mom's like, well, you need to go up to the bathrooms and take a shower because they have public showers up there. I'm like, no, it's dark.
Yeah.
And she took me up to the ladies' restroom because there was light in there.
Okay.
And basically stood guard while I was taking a shower. And it was quite nice. The water was even warm. But I got out and I've got a towel over my head and shit. And I feel something on my foot and it didn't feel like water. And I looked down and there's this big fucking tarantula sitting on my foot.
Oh my God.
And that, dear children, was the last time I went streaking. Fucking, it was like white lightning down to the fucking tent.
Oh boy.
Yeah, fuck arachnophobia. But it is a great movie.
Yeah.
So, but do we have anything else on the Night Strangler? Because
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, there's other things we could talk about, but we'd be here for quite a while. But hey, enjoyable movie. Hey, out of 5 stars, what would you give this, Kev?
I'd give this one a 4.5. This is really, really good.
Yeah, I go 4.5. If they got a little more budget, and I think that would have hit 5 for sure.
Yeah, especially made for TV movies. Like this would
Yes.
be, this is the 70s version of It. Like when
Yes.
It came out, that scared everybody at the time. Well, shit, we've been getting to that on Wednesday again. Someone from the TV series also directed Rose Red. So
Oh, that's true.
a lot of inspiration trickling down in the annals of history.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and make sure you have your vituperation, and we'll see you next time.
I said annals.
Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.